Hi, my name is Aryeh Yosef Gallin, Lowell Joseph Gallin. I am here in the Land of Promise filming our Love Israel with Laura and Lowell interview series for the new New York-based TV talk show, internet TV talk show, The Laura and Lowell Show. And our guest today is Hana Alisa Omer, who came on Aliyah to Israel from the Slovak part of what once was known as Czechoslovakia. It's two nations. Hana Alisa Omer, you mentioned that you were born in 1947, 2 years after the Shoah, the Nazi German Jewish genocide, which is usually known as the Holocaust, and you came to Israel. Were your parents in the Shoah?
Yes, well, it was a year and a half after they came out from the Shoah. My mother was in the death march as well. She came out alive of that, and that's why I'm here today. And my father, be their memory blessed, he was in a concentration camp as well. He came out about 30 kilo, whatever. So it was a miracle that they came out of it, and because of this miracle that they were alive, I am here. I was born in South Slovakia, which is a Hungarian area, and my mother tongue is Hungarian. I went to Slovak schools, and it was communist times. And all my mother's family came to Israel in 47, only she stayed there, so we received the permit to visit them in 67. It was a year before the revolution there in Czechoslovakia.
You mean with Alexander Dubček and the Prague Spring, which many people alive today don't remember and/or were not born.
Yeah.
You left
before that.
You left Czechoslovakia the year before the Prague Spring with Alexander Dubček.
And it was in August 67. It was a year. It was a month after the Six-Day War, and it was the euphoria times here in Israel, the best times in Israel. There was freedom of movement all over to Gaza, to what is called today territories, and everything cost 1 lira, and there came a lot of money from abroad to Israel, and many students from abroad, and because of this I was lucky. I received stipendia, and I could study in the Bezalel Academy of Art in Jerusalem, graphic design. And since then I lived here. It is already over 45 years, and I worked here as an artist and illustrator for children's books, any projects, graphic designer, and eventually in the 90s I was asked by Jerusalem New Age prophet, I could call, Dr. Hayutman. I was asked to illustrate his visions of heavenly Jerusalem and the Third Temple.
So you came here at the age of 20.
Yes.
And what kind of memories do you have that you might want to share with us about living under a East Bloc communist dictatorship?
Well, I was just a little girl, and I knew I was an outsider. We did the Jewish holidays, and it was different than the Christian culture around, of course. So I felt outsider, but I didn't experience any anti-Semitism.
That's good.
My brother did, but not me. So that I couldn't say. I just experienced the anxiety of my parents, and which stays, I'm second generation to the Holocaust, and today they call it the second generation syndrome. So I had to work on this one for all my life to come to balance and even more happiness in life.
And when you came here, you came with your mother.
Yes. My mother went back and I stayed here.
Have you lived all these years in Jerusalem?
I lived in Jerusalem for while I studied in Bezalel, then I lived in the Sharon area, then from the 80s on, I lived in Ein Hod Artist Village, which I am a member of.
That's in Haifa on the Carmel?
It is south of Haifa, on the Carmel. It is, unfortunately 2 years ago in the big Carmel fire my house burned down. So, yes. So now I am still coming to terms with that one. And meantime I became a multiple grandmother.
Oh, congratulations, Mazal Tov.
Yes, my daughter, she has 7 children in Beitar Elite.
So you've illustrated children's books.
Yes.
Now you have several grandchildren. Do you read the children's books you illustrated to your grandkids?
Well, sure.
They like grandma's books?
Yeah, they are very proud of their grandmother.
Any particular themes that you like to illustrate in the children's stories? Animals, people,
I did illustrate.
fantasy worlds?
Yeah, I did illustrate animals. The last book that came out this year was The Fables of La Fontaine.
I don't know them. Could you tell us about them? As the Talmud says, he who is ashamed will not learn. So if you don't know something, just say, I don't know. And then we'll all learn something new. So tell us about what La Fontaine?
La Fontaine.
The only line was Lafayette, who came to help the American Revolution.
That's something else.
And also General Baron von Steuben. He was Prussian, I think. Okay, so tell us about La Fontaine, please.
La Fontaine lived in the 18th century France, and he wrote satirical fables in the style of Aesop and Krylov.
Yeah.
So this one I illustrated is a new translation into Hebrew by Ruth Bar Zohar. And
she's an Israeli children's story writer or translator in this case.
Well, it is her grandmother's project, new project, because she loved them when she was child, and 60 years later she translated them.
So she translates and you illustrate.
Yes.
When you illustrate, are they drawings, paintings? What kind of medium do you use for your illustrations?
It depends. For these children books I used watercolor, aquarelle. Like for instance, when I illustrate historical events, like I did for our dear friend Larry Pfeffer, illustrate the rescuers.
Right.
It was paintings with oil colors. Yeah.
Hana Alisa, when she says rescuers, she means Jews and non-Jews who rescued Jews and other victims of the Nazis during the Holocaust.
Yes.
So you illustrated a book about rescuers.
Not a book. It is not a book. It was illustration. It is 2 paintings which appear at these conferences about the rescuers. And they are illustration of the events and the personages.
And what medium do you use when you do those illustrations?
Well, that was in oil paintings.
Oil paintings.
But for instance, it depends. For instance, black and white, I illustrated back in the 70s the Mikraot Israel, which is the literature textbook for schools in Israel, for Masada
you mean the
publishers,
publishing
which
house?
is already, I'm sorry to say, they don't exist anymore. but they brought out the big encyclopedia as well, when before the computers people used encyclopedias.
So how did you make, or how are you making the transition to the rapidly developing technologies? Do you still work with pen and paper and paints and brushes, or are you moving more and more to computer graphics, or a mix of the two?
Well, I still like best the pencil, but I learned Photoshop as well, so sometimes I touch up. You know, today you need brighter colors and everything more and more and more. So I do use the new techniques as well, and trying to move to the 21st century with all the rest.
Well, we're very glad that we could have our first conversation with Hana Alisa Omer, and you're all invited to visit Hana Alisa's website, which you'll find in the description that accompanies this interview. So Hana Alisa, thank you very much for our first interview, and thank you all for watching and listening.